Okay, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Ashant, Chalasani. I work for a company called Simplify ERP. We are a German partner. We have a silver status, and we have focused on e-commerce, which is what I will talk about in relation to Odoo today. I will present to you some things that we do with e-commerce and with Odoo. For those of you who have smartphones out, please keep them out. Look me up immediately on LinkedIn. Please connect. And I hope to have a conversation later as well. So I think maximum here today, most participants are doing ERP with Odoo. What we have done is something maybe off the track. We kind of oriented ourselves to this picture. I'll pause this on it for a minute. I'll take some time to explain this. This is our worldview. Odoo is in the middle. On the left, to start with, we have made peace with ERP systems elsewhere. We tell our customers, if you have an ERP, don't bother listening to my Odoo story, and don't listen to Odoo when they tell you to use it for ERP. We can continue to work with your ERP. So we are totally always focused on e-commerce customers. Just to repeat myself, we put Odoo in front of ERPs. It could be Microsoft Navision, this could be SAP, this could be some smaller ones, SME ERPs. And we tell customers to publish data in XML. Just create 2 folders on an FTP folder, FTP directory called in and out, write your data to something that's called in, and we will give you data in something that's called out, or the other way around. We call that FTP letterboxes, just to have a fancier term for an FTP directories. And we tell customers to publish data in XML format. XML formats is something we have standardized. We give this format to our customers. And we'd say, if you want to send us product data, please do it with these 20 nodes. If you want more, you can do that. We will customize it a little bit, but they're standardized. We have standardized it on GitHub as well. We want this to be a community and a partner effort. So if anybody thinks that there should be a couple of more nodes in the XML, then we can just have a conversation online in an open source fashion and increase the size of the nodes or decrease. So we'll talk about that a little later. Those standards are, those XML formats are standardized. So we bring the data over XML from ERP systems into Odoo. And what we do with that data is to move it into online platforms, e-commerce platforms, pretty much scalable through different shop systems, different marketplaces, scalable in a linear fashion, which means that you can have as many as you want. It won't increase the complexity of the system, and you could scale with time or with need. So the data is always transferred through standard APIs of marketplaces, of shop systems, of Odoo itself. The whole Odoo technology is very web services oriented. So we connect with basic, simple XML, RPC, and REST APIs and SOAP APIs, whatever platforms provide us. I'm a little immobile here, so I will try to kind of like see if we can move here. Okay, so at this end here, you see these, what we call front connectors. Each of these arrows is basically a component we provide. We try to develop more and more components with time as customer needs increase, or as we plan to start to work in specific markets. Like these are all German platforms, and we are active in Switzerland right now, so we are covering 3 Swiss marketplaces, which could come somewhere here. Maybe PrestaShop is missing here. Sometime in the future we will do that. Or a customer tells us that they have a legacy shop that they have developed themselves. As long as they are approachable with web services, we're able to connect them. In the worst case, of course, we can also work with CSV and XML, but it's suboptimal and kind of outdated technology. So web services would be the preferred way to go with. So this is our constellation. So what do we do here? We don't use Odoo for ERP if the customer doesn't want it. We use Odoo as a workflow engine. We use it as a database, and we use it as a central management software for driving online sales for our customers. They're always trading companies, our clients, so Pretty much simply speaking, they buy something from somewhere, they sell it, there's movement of goods, there's warehouse processes, shipping processes, logistics, order processing, customer support, and integration of sales. So this is the basic stuff that everyone wants. But beyond the basics, sometimes customers also want to provide a unified experience to a specific end customer. So if there's the John Doe as a customer who buys, let's say, in Amazon, but orders some other product from one of the web shops of the merchant, then John Doe should have a unified user experience. You cannot go as far as single sign-on, but you can still integrate his CRM record, offer him incentives to keep buying, no matter on which platform, mobile versus marketplaces or mobile marketplaces, or mobile versus desktops versus also physical stores. So our job is to help our merchants to provide these experiences using Odoo as a central platform, plus everything else we develop on top of it. Grow sales, have better end customer relationships, and have stronger brands. So this is pretty much what we do. I think I'm just, okay. So we've covered these shop systems. We have covered those marketplaces. They're all very much, the first three are very much German-based. I mean, there's also US and global versions of it, but in Germany there are some specifics. We've covered, so in a sense, Amazon.de, eBay.de, and Rakuten.de. Rakuten is a Japanese company. We'll be very happy to do it in Japan as well. I think it would be a big step also for our customers in Europe if we can provide a connector to put their product in Asian markets. Someday we want to do that, not so far in the future. Galaxus, Ricardo, and Sirup are Swiss marketplaces. Pretty exciting dynamic in the Swiss market at the moment. Mindpaket is also a German platform. So these are stuff we have done. As you see, there's white space on this slide, and hopefully we will fill it and reduce the font size very soon. Get this direction right. Okay, so there's probably two things that we could focus a little bit on. I mentioned a little bit about XEDO. XEDO is XML data exchange with Odoo, simply put. It's XML definitions for the core data set that you need in order to start doing online sales. This is products, categorization of products, customer records, orders, and pretty much that's it. Most difficult of these is the product data set because you have variations of products, you have pricing changes. So a merchant has perfectly logical strategy that he could have a different price in Amazon and eBay than his own web shop. Or internationally, he could have different currencies, different languages. So the product data set is usually the hard one. But also for that, we give an XML standard. If customers want a little more than that, then they can publish their data in an expanded data set. And obviously, to get that data into Odoo, we need certain Odoo modules, apps. We have these apps, we have developed them, and they're expandable. So that's where XEDO comes. We've made it open source, as I mentioned before. Anyone can participate in the maintenance of these XEDO formats. We welcome partners to do this together with us. I think it would be a nice thing if other companies also develop connectors or connectors on these sites or use it for their own customers, no matter in which ERP system they're using. I don't have to tell you that ERP systems that come from the classical mindset, they are not so modern. They're not ready for e-commerce, web business. They are not agile enough. They're not usually not even ready to be communicated with APIs. They still operate a lot with CSV files, which is almost a pity because the data is the integration with CSV files is never easy, or never clean. So this is very hard to connect ERP systems directly to online platforms. E-commerce moves very fast. Digital space is developing very fast, and ERP companies don't move that fast. Odoo is the fastest of them, and so we put Odoo in front of classical ERP systems. So customers have the advantage of having their legacy systems, keeping their users there, not having to retrain them into a new and modern cool system like Odoo, and not having another project to do, because I think most companies are operating right now at 100% efficiency or as fast as they can, and they don't need a new project unless there's an acute pain point. So that's a little bit about XEDO. Right. So there's a few other blocks here. So you have some payment systems that have to be consolidated wherever you're managing payments. If you want to do that in Odoo, then you can connect to credit card companies, PayPal, what have you, wherever the PayPal data is. So same with logistics companies, same with partner networks. We have some wholesale customers that want to publish their data to their retail network. So you can publish their data in any format that they can, or you can populate completely web shop databases for retailers and provide them web shop systems completely. So retailers, looking from a wholesale company's point of view, don't have to develop their own shop systems and maintain them. So a lot of possibilities are really open when we work with web services and an open source system like Odoo. Okay. So these are the ERP systems we have already connected. Navision is there. Futura for Retail, which is a German fashion ERP. Many fashion companies, especially if they have physical stores, they use Futura for Retail. SelectLine, Abacus is a Swiss system. And as you see, there's a lot of white space on this slide as well. So hopefully we get a chance to integrate more and more. Okay. This is, as I mentioned before, XEDO is purely XML, community effort. We are driving it right now, but we'd be happy to have partners who could co-drive it with us. And connectors can be developed by anyone. So, and they can be obviously sold by anyone. So the whole commercial model behind these connectors, which are here, this is completely independent to anybody who develops them. That can be open source if you want it, but it doesn't have to be free open source. Okay, so we have developed some connectors, and we'd like, aside of us, also that partners use these. So if you guys are doing e-commerce or working with merchants, retailers, or even wholesale companies that are looking into e-commerce channels, it makes sense that you profit from our development. We have basically 2 cost points. A one-time fee when you buy the module, and a recurring yearly maintenance fee. It's charged once in January, and it's only a couple of hundreds to maintain every connector. So the connectors I'm talking about are these, and sometimes these as well. Okay. So that's pretty much all I have. So my goal has been to just explain what we are doing with Odoo, which space we are covering, our model. And I think I would also like to mention that we have made this decision that we want to focus only on the e-commerce sector. We want to build solutions on top of Odoo. Just to share our experience is that this is bringing us the strengths of Odoo as a very stable, beautiful, modern, well-architected open source system. It gives us all those advantages, plus we get to innovate for our market. And as a partner, we think this is a space that we want to just remain and do well in, and maybe compete for the top spots, rather than doing ERP as a whole for anything and everything. This is a model that we have chosen. So that's it. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer some. Sure.
If you are using Odoo as your ERP, where does that fit into the picture?
You could use Odoo as a ERP, but we don't force our customers to use Odoo as an ERP. Yeah. If they have some,
understand the model, but,
yeah.
But if you are using Odoo,
oh, okay. If you're using, so this part doesn't exist.
yeah.
This complication doesn't exist. You simply have Odoo, which is connected directly using connectors with web services to various platforms, various sales platforms. So it's an even simpler constellation.
So we would just have, so we'd purchase the connectors off you in that pricing model.
Exactly.
And are they just Odoo modules?
They're just Odoo modules, exactly. Sometimes there's a counterpart also that gets installed here to make the communication bidirectional. It is always bidirectional, but sometimes you need a component there as well. So Magento, I know that there is a Magento component that has to be implemented, but it's 2 components instead of 1. It's 1 package, you get it as 1 package. Right, and they are standard Odoo modules. They are compatible with versions. We do the job of keeping them updated. So they're pretty much, any Odoo developer would understand what's going on in those components.
Would there be a big advantage for customers who's using Odoo to use this rather than their, rather than the native Odoo
e-commerce module? Yep. Yeah, obviously a good question to answer if you want to go into this model. So we have, we're happy to work with the e-commerce module of Odoo, but I think it has its limitations. It can do a lot of things for B2B companies, but if I had to position a high-end Swiss brand with their branding, very specific requirements they have, they're better off with an established shop system like Magento or Oxid & Shopper in the German and Swiss spaces. They're better off doing that because they're more predestined to offer great e-commerce B2C experiences at the end of the day than Odoo's e-commerce module. This is our belief. I mean, it can be challenged. And the other thing we also do in that context is that we decouple. These lines, they are completely decoupled. So any performance hit on the right side of this graph, on the sales channels, doesn't influence Odoo's performance at all. So this decoupling gives a better system architecture and a more scalable architecture. So I don't have to be afraid of 1 million users in a month. At that point, that my ERP will slow down. Any more questions? Okay, so here's my contact information. I'm happy to connect also later. SimplifyERP.com is our site. We have some videos in YouTube explaining this model, explaining some of the connectors for some of the sales platforms, and we try to be active on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn more English, YouTube a little more German than English, but please connect, it doesn't matter. Thank you.